Howdy, folks. It's Tom, your frugal prepper here. Um, this is just kind of be a review of this keyboard here. I know it looks like a alien spaceship keyboard or something. Years ago I used to install some of those Microsoft Wave keyboards for people, and this is kind of similar. Um, but the reach on this keyboard's a lot better. Um, So, I'm starting to get the carpal tunnel in my left hand. It like actually starts hurting and burning real bad back here in my forearm, and it comes. I can even still feel it if I hold my hand in that direction. But on a traditional keyboard, your wrist is usually bent down and then over like so, and like when I do that, I can feel it in my forearm. Um, and after I would type for a couple hours, it was almost impossible to type. Like my fingers were getting completely numb, um, so numb that I couldn't actually feel the indentation to see if I was on the home key. And if I kept going, then my whole forearm would swell up and start burning real bad, and it would stay that way like almost all night long. Um, there is surgery for carpal tunnel syndrome where they like open up your arm and scrape off the tendons or whatever. Um, Trying to avoid that because I have the HSA insurance because I had to go with something cheaper because of the Obamacare compliant thing. Um, so I only have like $300 or $400 put in towards my deductible, and my deductible for me as a person is $3,500, and for a family it's $7,000. So that means I'm gonna be paying the first $3,000 of that surgery, which just isn't doable. If it gets bad to where I have to have the surgery, I'll probably go ahead and go up to the more expensive, higher plan for a year and get the surgery done and then switch back. Um, but what I did yesterday is I ran over to the local Best Buy. I searched on Micro Center's website, and they actually had this keyboard for $39, but they are an hour away. So the local Best Buy actually had one on that was an open box item for $41, and it worked fine even though it's an open box item. This keyboard kind of lifts up in the front, and as you can see, is and with my left hand on the home keys, ready to type, it's a very straight, keeps your arm very straight, in a very natural position. I find that, I do a lot of this type of typing, which is writing scripts and stuff. So I find that the symbol characters are actually well within. I mean, everything's within reach where you kind of expect it to be if you're a touch typist, which I took typing in high school on an old-fashioned typewriter. So I mean, I do type using touch typing, like traditional touch typing. If you're one of those hunt and peck typers, you might find this keyboard really weird. But for a touch typist, everything's where you expect it to be for the hand you use it from. Now my son's he's kind of a touch typist, but he's like a self-learned touch typist, where he just kind of knows where the keys are, and he finds that some of the keys he hits, he reaches across for him, and it's really weird for him. Um, but this keyboard's got a few features. It's got some buttons here for like bring up your home page and bring up your mail, do a search. Then there's some like favorite buttons across here. I guess these are like buttons labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which you can program with the software that you have to. It doesn't come with the software on a CD. That was when I first plugged this keyboard in, it didn't work. It wouldn't find the drivers through Windows Update, even though it's a Microsoft keyboard. So I had to hook up my old keyboard and go download the IntelliType software, which had the drivers in it, and then it worked. You think Microsoft would have this work right with Microsoft Update since they make the keyboard, but I guess they didn't. It's got this scroll button right here, so basically you can hit this little slide to scroll in and out, or zoom. I'm sorry, not scroll, zoom. So if I'm looking at something and it's too small, I can hit that zoom button and zoom in on it. Then I can zoom back out right there, which is kind of nice. Also, if you're browsing the web and you want to go back a page, there's buttons down here to go back and forward, which is kind of nice. You also have a mute button, a volume up and down button here. This is a play pause button. And this is the calculator button, which is real handy to bring up the calculator. Um, Pretty much all of your number pad keys, Adesso made one of these too, but they actually kind of then turned the keyboard more this way for your number pad, which puts my wrist in an uncomfortable position here. I'd rather just take and slide my wrist over and hit these, which seems to work really well. So I like the way Microsoft has designed that, rather than having to be in this position and supposed to turn like this to hit them. That's not a natural position for your hand. I find I like this too. It has a solid space bar that goes all the way across. Some of these have split space bars, which just takes some getting used to, I guess, but it seemed weird to me. But I also like the way, like, you'll see this key is stretched out right here. Okay? Just like this key here is wider, and that just seems to be where that way it hits where your finger naturally lands. And see, this key here, even on the opposite side of it, is normal size. And I don't know exactly why, but that makes it just hit perfectly. I find that the key spacing is very well thought out on this keyboard. The curvature is just about perfect. And this little thing here does come off, so in my case, I need to keep my arm as straight as possible, so I keep that on. But if you're just one of those people that are having carpal tunnel from going like this, not necessarily down, then you can take that off and get that a little more, angle to the position if you want to. It does have keyboard tilts back here, which I'm of course not using because I want to keep it forward in my case. But yeah, it really works well. I have to say, before I got the carpal tunnel syndrome, I always kind of thought ergonomic stuff was just a silly way for companies to charge too much money for things. But after 20 some years of typing, it's finally happened to me. And I would say if you're a person who types a lot, invest the $40 and get a nice ergonomic keyboard. This pad in front is like a soft leather pad. It's real nice to put your wrists on. But invest the money, get an ergonomic keyboard now, so that you don't develop these symptoms later on, because they kind of suck. Because this also affects other tasks that I want to do. Anything that I'm using these fingers to turn, like turning small screwdrivers to work on stuff, or anything where I'm grabbing and turning, also affects me. And even to the point where my fingers just get so weak and numb that I can't turn it. So I wish I would have had a keyboard like this for a long time and would have never had this problem. But it seems to be getting better. I've been typing on this for a day. Seems to be getting much better. So I'm just going to go with this and see how things go. This is Tom, your frugal prepper.